Thank you, Maria. Yeah. Also, thank you for inviting me to give me the chance to show our results here. I come from a hospital, and I will present data from 2 joint projects. We had the chance to explore the effects of IUC on skin and tissue, I think for the last 5-6 years. And we worked there together with companies, with the Martina Meinke Institute. Nature already presented yesterday that we could use. We also could use the 222. We worked on prototype chemistry or something like prototype. And I think that I hope that I can show you the last in vivo data, but I like to start as well. Why did we wanted to do things like this? In this Advanced UV for Life consortium, we had a chance to explore UV in medicine as well. So we have been responsible, and we did several other projects, and at the end, when the first round was more or less gone, we said we want to have something else, something new, something more, I don't know. So then we had the idea, and we saw the data from Manuela and what was published, that IUC could be used maybe on skin without any damage, and that the microbes could be deleted, killed, and we thought, okay, is this possible with LEDs? That was a start, and the Martina Meinke Institute said, well, why not? We just started to produce them, so we said, okay, let us try, let us apply for the money, and we got it, and so that was a start. And we thought it could be a relaxing start, and then the pandemic appears. And then it becomes quite important, and everybody asks, is it safe, is it safe? And I really had to, I never had a project like this, but I had to really, was pushed so much to produce results. And nevertheless, we are researchers, and we want to have control groups. We want really to know if this is safe or not before I say yes. Just go ahead, evaluate everybody, no problem. So, and the original idea when we started was more to kill the multi-resistant germs. That was the idea, the primary idea. And we wanted to go into this work because I think you all know this. I don't have to go on all these details here. And we said we need something which do not make any resistances. That was the idea. And to also avoid the surgical site infections, and we know that the endogenous germs that produce them, and we wanted to, more or less also use it during the surgery. That was one idea what we had, and also the goal behind the nose to kill the hiding space, to also reach the hiding areas of the germs. And that was the idea to go in this direction. So what we used is, in contrast to maybe a lot of other data which are shown here, mainly the device what Nature yesterday presented, how they built it. There was a 5UVC LED system with 233 peak wavelengths. And I will just roughly go about this data what we published so far. I will spend some minutes on this. And at the end, I will go into investigations, age dependency, skin type dependency, and multiple irradiation. That is the goal to show today. I hope I keep my time. And before I go into this, just why is it maybe a different to look for 233 peak wavelengths or 222? What we also did in the past is we measured the optical properties of the skin. There we using an integrated sphere device where you can measure the transmitted light, and the reflected light, and then you calculate using inverse Monte Carlo simulation, and then you get really the optical properties out. And this could be used from the FDH to calculate the penetration depth, and this is here you can look to the purple, I think then you have 10%. And here you can see there might be some difference in penetration depth, therefore also maybe in damage of the skin. And here we have some, this is just to illustrate, what should we not reach, that is the most important thing, is the basal cell layer. Because there, all the skin tumors usually develop. So the idea was to have a light which is maybe in the upper epidermis, with wire skin, but is mostly stuck into the stratum corneum. That was the goal. And here you can see some calculations for the 222, 233, then there's a 254, and that is 300, so what is usually the UVB wavelength. So, and you can see that the distribution, of course, the skin of the epidermis is not flat, but just imagine that you have some 50 microns of epidermal layer here, and the 300 goes really everywhere, also in the dermis, to also include some damage there. And but here the 254 already reached the other cell layer, but the other wells don't. And therefore, it was promising to continue. And so let me start with the devices we used. We used, of course, the one what we talked about. And first we had a device where you only could irradiate excise skin or 3D skin models. And then they adapted it, that we also are able to use it for in vivo. We did all the investigating on the back of the volunteers, usually on the lower back. And it is also equipped with a filter. Misha told you or explained yesterday that we try to avoid the higher wavelengths, because even the LEDs have some part on the higher wavelengths. We use this aximal lamp with the 222 from Shield, and we have a so-called positive control where we use the 254. And we had also wanted to know what is the case for UVB, because we are more, we know how UVB is acting. In the past, we are more expert in sunlight exposure. So we never heard about UVC, not maybe heard, but because we don't care, because it doesn't come down to the earth. And that is always when I was teaching, they said, yeah, UVC, no, it doesn't matter. And therefore, we wanted to know minimal erythema dose is something what you usually use for also if you apply some sunscreen. They look at what time point or dose the minimal erythema dose happens. And that is something what you don't want. So it's a light sunburn. This usually you want to avoid, therefore you apply sunburn. And this is quite, I would say, a dose every dermatologist can play with, and therefore we said, okay, how much is produced with UVB to have a minimal erythema dose? And then we said, okay, well, we don't want to have a minimal erythema dose, so it should be healthy to have a quarter of a minimal erythema dose. That is also published that in this quarter you have the production of of vitamin D, and vitamin D is quite healthy. Maybe you've heard about this. It's good for the bones, it's good for tumor prevention, with the exception maybe of skin tumors because it has to be irradiated. But in principle, it's good to have it. You also can supplement it, of course. But we said, okay, and then also a tenth of the MED. It is really, if you just walk from the like Edder Hall until maybe this building here, that you get at least, I think, 5 or so fifths of tenths of MED, and that's recommended. So that's just that you know that we had maybe some special that's built by the FBH already. So the goal was now to look for the damage of the slide, and our former goal was to have some system where we could go into the node, and the other idea was maybe that we also could irradiate not the room for maybe just if we sit here, but of course in clinical hospitals for operation procedure or waiting rooms or COVID-19 stage or whatever where there is a need. And we heard a lot of this in the lecture yesterday. So the idea was that the penetration is different, that you kill the girls, and we wanted to look for the CPDs, the cyclobutadiene pyrimidine dimers, and another photoproduct, which, because we did not quantify it and show you, we had a relative CPT damage. And if you have more than 100%, you cannot distinguish anymore. Therefore, we need the second photoproduct, which appears later. And so you can still judge, is it better or not, if you have already 100%, the part would be 200, because if one nucleus is damaged, you have already threat spot here, that are CBD damages here. And that was the idea. We also measured radical formation. I will not show this here, but it's published. And to also see what happens well, because we know radicals, too much radicals are also not healthy in the skin. And yeah, I think this was our aim. And let me tell you what we have done so far. Okay, the first publication came out in this joint project where we also looked for it was maybe more or less how to build the device, what was consisting of, and here we only investigated pores in the skin. That was the first step, but because usually we get it each week, and there we had the first experiences. Then we also looked for the germ, and that we could kill the MRSA, and also first ex vivo investigations were done. And we thought, okay, that looks quite promising, and here we used the models. And we additional, that was in-house investigations. We looked to Candida species, and that was quite successful. We explored the principle that we have to use 40 to 60 millijoule per square centimeter, and that was the same for the Candida. We expected much more because they are bigger. But it was not the case, not for both of them. Maybe there are others, but in this case we were quite happy. And yeah, so that was done in-house. And because we have this available, we have a lot of patients who suffer from this infections. Then we thought, okay, if we want to go into the mouth and beyond, we have to know what happens with mucosa. And of course, we are in the dermatology, mucosa is not so easily available, and so that we thought, okay, let us look for some models, some 2D models, and 3D models, sorry. And so that was a question. It's not so easy to get some. Our cooperation partner, Brussels, provided some, but that was also something what I learned. If you have 3D models, they could give different results. I expected actually that 3D models in skin are maybe more sensitive than the normal skin because we have a different strand corneum. But the 3D models showed less CPDs. And that might be due because they're already repaired and maybe due to irradiation, I don't know, but this was our hypothesis. So we had lower damage there than in the real X-sized human skin. For the mucosa it was different. That there we had almost no repair in the first models. So why should it not repair there? Okay, maybe it's not supposed to lie. So we asked another colleagues which did other models, and they said, yeah, they are not so immortalized, and so we used that. And there we also could find that there is a repair, because at this time we were not able to cultivate mucosa. We had always to do this. If you cultivate skin, it's not the same like mucosa. So we learned that models could react in different ways. So just if you want to use models, be careful. You never know what is the transfer to real skin. So, but nevertheless, we also get some mucosa from patients, from collaborations in kind of the Charité. And there we found out that we have a little bit more damage. But on the other side, we added some of these microbes on the models, and we could see that we are still successful. That was something that, because if you put them just on the plates, it's easier, you know. But if you put them really in tissue, you might have other results. But we have been quite successful. And what we learned is to kill the germs in the vicinity of natural environment. The 233 was more successful than the 222. That was because we also learned that we have different absorptions, especially for albumin, for other, I think, carbon-containing substances. And for example, also sweat is absolutely not disturbing 235, but it disturbs a little bit already the 222. So that's all inside of all these publications here. So then we continued. And we wanted to know what is with wounds, because we want to have some wound treatments. We did some artificial wounds and excised human skin, and of course we found more damage. But then if you add the wound fluid, it it really decreases quickly. It's not the same for eye. So there we will hear something tomorrow. And yeah, and then also the skin optical properties I already showed to learn and to understand, is that really something doesn't make sense and it fits quite well. Here also the first in vivo investigations are incorporated. Okay, I'm not finished yet. So then we had a first review together. There's also been a lot of people here in this room, and we were quite happy that more or less all had the same experiences. So that's always good. If you do something alone, I'm never happy. It's better if other people can confirm the results somehow. Then we did investigation on skin type. So what happens with the melanin? Does it give any impact? Especially is there a difference between UVB and maybe the far UVC? And there are a group of Greifswald, Paula Zwicker and Axel Kramer. They did also investigations for other worms, and they were quite successful. All worms so far react if you irradiate them. And yeah, we also did this radical measurements for different wavelengths if you're interested. And yeah, this is a paper which is a little bit different, but it's also we used also high UVC as well, if I remember correctly. But here we learned that if you have skin models, again, skin models, where because you cannot order X-ray skin, yeah, we want to have a dark skin, please operate a dark person. No, you have to use what you get. So therefore, darker skin was not so easy to get in the Charité in Berlin. And so we said, okay, let us go to skin models, they offer them, and hopefully we can do all the investigations on this melanin-containing models. They provided them. Okay, and we said, okay, this is something what we wanted to see, and we didn't understand it because we had higher CPGs when we looked to these models, and this was only explainable because the distribution was totally different. It was not around the nucleus, and this also gave an impact, what we learned. Okay, now I come to my results. I have not so many slides because this is easy to tell. So we'll start with the data of ex vivo and in vivo. We will compare this. So here we usually do not cultivate them, so we directly took a bunch biopsy. Ex vivo and in vivo we looked after 24 hours and after 7 days. We looked for the CPDs. And here's what you get. So if you see that is a quarter of MET, this is a tenth of MET with UVB light. This is a 254, and here you have the far UVC wavelength, and you can see, okay, the elderly people do not show much more or less of the damage. There's always 6% what we investigated here, and that is actually, we said, okay, we expected actually that we have some more damage in the elderly group, but that was the way it is. And then we said, okay, let us do this in vivo. And here you see the data from the 24 hours, and here you see that the elderly people have much more damage. And this is, of course, not that they become more damage, but the repair system is slowed down. That is our explanation. And even after 7 days, there are still more damage for the elderly people, but in principle, the far UVC and here we only use the 233 because it was not so easy to do all the investigations in humans. We have to take a lot of punch biopsies. And as you can see, there is still, after 7 days, you still see some damage. So that was something what we learned, even for the younger ones. And here you see the results image. And so what is with melanin influence? Yeah, here also ex vivo first, directly taken after irradiation. You have again this quarter, this tenth, and the 40 millijoule. And here we have different dose, and usually we have 1 or 2 doses for ex vivo for the BioVC, and it is much smaller. And here, interestingly, what we got is that the darker skin had less CPDs and the lighter skin had more CPDs. The world was okay, everybody was happy, and also BioVC The influence here is lower because you do not reach the area where usually the melanin is located. If you don't go to the basal cell region, it doesn't matter if you have maybe darker skin or lighter skin. That is also, again, shows that I think that it doesn't reach this area. So, and so everything was fine. Then we did it also in vivo. We did 3 time points, and we started with the 24-hour. And because we thought, yeah, why should we do again? Zero directly after. And here, that is the darker skin now. We had more CPDs. And everybody said, okay, the first patient, yeah, okay, could be an outlier or something like this. Special skin, biology, second patient, third patient, fourth patient. Ooh, I didn't understand. We thought, what happens there? And of course, we did this on the same time when we did the elderly people, so we didn't really keep in mind that it may be a pair system. But then we looked, okay, it could be dark CPDs, could be a pair system. So we said, okay, we have to include now 0 again, and there we could see, okay, because the MD here is the darker skin got more light, yeah, because we irradiated until the point that we could see a light red shine, and so the minimal erythema dose. So this is more or less the same. But after 24 hours, the repair systems could be one reason, because maybe that's not necessary to be so fast, because usually they get only a lower amount. And on the other side, there are some experiences with just dark or delayed CPDs. That could be also the reason. And but for the 233, we had now more for the light skin and less for the dark skin, because here we kept the same. That was the dose was fixed. Okay, and after 7 days, it equals out. So that was the good news. So at the end, all healed, but we still could find something a little bit after 7 days. And now the question arises, what happens if you consecutive irradiate some people 4 days with a 60 millijoule per square centimeter? And yes. And here we have, that is for only 1 exposure. And here you have it after 4 days. And this is then 24 hours later. So it also included the repair after the 24 hours. And there is still something. So that is the 233. And this is somehow, it's still in the vicinity of the quarter of an MED, so it's not dangerous. But for medical application, it's fine. No risk, I would say, go. For daily irradiation, I'm not so happy. And so that is the usually permitted dose at the moment. That is the dose what we use for signal radiation. It is what is recommended, or what is something what we want to have maybe in the future. So it's something for discussion. And I think at the end we had this 240 millijoule per square centimeters over the 4 days. And so I'm not so happy to have a daily dose of 479 with this wavelength. Okay, so it might change with 222. I think this experience are still missing. I would be happy to do them, but we need some money. And yeah, I think that is, I can wrap up, but in principle I don't have to say anything again. I would recommend to use the 233 for medical application and the 222 more for the illumination of the rooms. Just want to know that we need more visibility to bring it somewhere, to bring it, whatever that even we had, that is a famous, or I think well-known German newspaper, journal, and we were already mentioned. I did nothing for this, I just realized that I'm in a journal, but I got this Arnold Rating Prize in photobiology. That was nice for all these publications this year, but it's from last year. I want to thank all my partners, and okay, and of course funding parts and funding, and my team. I have a great team, and this is my team, and these are the key players here, which has done all the experiments. Thank you.